There is a kind of politeness that has fear underneath it, and tonight I want to begin there, with the careful way people once chose their words after dark. In the old cottages of Scotland and Ireland, when the fire had burned low and the talk turned to the ones who lived under the hills, nobody used the plain word. You did not say fairy. You said the good neighbours, the gentry, the fair folk, the people of peace. Soft, flattering names, laid down like a bowl of milk on a step. Because a name can be overheard, because the wrong word, said too loudly on the wrong night, might turn a listening head toward your door. Wherever you are keeping your own quiet tonight, thank you for bringing it here, into the late hours, where I like to sit with the oldest stories and the frightened, careful people who first told them. These are the tales from the thin places, the seams in the world, where the ground of our own country runs out and someone else's begins. Before we step over that seam, 2 small things, and then I will not interrupt again. If you would leave one comment tonight, tell me where in the world you are listening from and what hour it has reached there. I gather them quietly, and there's a strange comfort in knowing the map of everyone awake in the dark with me. And if this slow, deeply researched kind of folklore is what you came for, a like and a tap of subscribe is the whole of how it reaches the next person sitting up past midnight. I came to this one expecting something tidy. 2 courts of fairies, I thought. The Seelie and the Unseelie, the blessed and the unblessed. A bright side and a dark side, good against evil, the way we like our stories arranged. That is not what I found. The line between the 2 courts turns out to run somewhere stranger than that. And the court called Blessed, the court of light and revelry, is in some of the oldest tellings the one that frightened people more, because it smiled while it took what it wanted. What I found, underneath all of it, was not a fairy tale at all, but a set of rules, an entire quiet grammar of how to live next to something far stronger than you and survive it. Settle in and enjoy. Begin here, on a low ridge in the Scottish borders, on the last evening of October, in a year with no number. The light is going out of the sky the way water goes out of a held hand, slowly, and then all at once. Below you the fields are the gray of old iron, and the hedges have gone to black. It is that hour the old people did not trust. Not day, not night, the hinge of the 2, when a gate is neither open nor shut. Stand still, keep your hands down, because there is a sound coming up the valley that is not the wind. A thin, high, sweet music, and under it the soft thunder of many small hooves, and under that, laughter. A company is riding. You cannot yet see whether the bridles are hung with silver bells and the riders are crowned in green, or whether the horses have no eyes and the riders no faces. You only know to be very, very quiet, and to hope that whichever court is passing tonight, it passes without turning to look at you. That is where I want to keep you for the next while, on that ridge at that hour, because everything I am about to tell you was first told by people who genuinely believed they might be standing there. To them, the fairies were not small and winged and kind. They were a whole hidden nation, powerful and old, organized, ranked, and ruled, and split, the lowland Scots came to say, into 2 great courts. Let us take the names first, because the names are the first clue, and almost everyone gets them backwards. The word is Seelie. It comes to us through the broad Scots tongue, and behind it stands a much older word, the Anglo-Saxon Seelie, which did not mean magical or small or sweet. It meant happy, lucky, blessed, prosperous, even pious, auspicious, well-omened, the state of a thing that has grace resting on it. So the Seelie court is, word for word, the blessed court, the happy court, the court of the fortunate, and its shadow, the Unseelie, is simply that word with the light struck out of it. Unblessed, unholy, the fortune reversed. But hold that word blessed up to the candle and turn it, because here is the first strange thing. The people who called them the blessed court did not necessarily believe they were good. Listen again to those cottage names, the Good Neighbours, the Gentry, the people of peace. Folklorists have long suspected these were not descriptions, but charms. You called them good the way you would call a hard landlord generous to his face, because they were listening, and because a flattered power is a little less likely to ruin you than an insulted one. To name the court, blessed may itself have been a small act of self-defense. Say the kind word, and perhaps the kind word comes back to you instead of the other thing. The politeness had fear underneath it. It always did. The great collector of all this was an English woman named Catherine Briggs, who spent much of the 20th century mapping the wild, contradictory territory of British fairy belief into something you could almost hold in your hands. She drew a broad line between the trooping fairies, the ones who ride in companies, in courts, with kings and queens over them, the aristocracy of the Otherworld, and the solitary fairies, the single haunting things attached to one house, one pool, one lonely road. It is the trooping fairies we are among tonight. These are the ones who hold court. And a court, as any mortal at any royal court could tell you, is a beautiful and a dangerous place to find yourself. So let us walk into the bright one first, the Seelie court. Picture them as the old accounts have them, a riding of tall, fair, shining folk, dressed in green, mounted on white horses, whose manes are braided with little bells, so that you hear them before you see them. That high, sweet music coming up the valley. This is the court of revelry, of the feast under the hill, of music so beautiful that a mortal who hears it may stand listening in a field until his family gives him up for dead. And the Seelie court, the stories agree, is the one inclined to be kind. They are said to seek help from mortals and to repay it. If a poor woman leaves them a clean hearth and a bowl of cream, they may thresh her corn by night. If you do them an unwitting kindness, they remember it. They have even been known to warn a human who has offended them without meaning to give a second chance, a thing the other court never gives. And yet, read the fine print of every one of these stories, and the same cold clause is written into all of them. The Seelie court is still not safe. Their kindness runs on a strict and unforgiving accounting. A favor given must be answered. An insult, even an accidental one, spilling their milk, spying on their revels, cutting the wrong thorn tree, forgetting to leave the offering one single night, is repaid too, and repaid in full, with a blight on the cattle or a child gone strange in the cradle. The blessed court is not the court that will not hurt you. It is the court that will warn you first. That is the whole of the difference. And when you understand that, you understand why people were so frightened of the beautiful ones. A thing that means you harm, you can at least learn to hate and to flee. A thing that smiles and gives and helps, and then, one evening, quietly presents the bill. That is far harder to guard your heart against. Nothing shows you the true face of the blessed court better than the oldest and most beautiful of the Scottish fairy ballads, the story of Thomas the Rhymer. And this one, unusually, has its feet in real ground. There was a man, Thomas of Eildon, a laird and a poet of the 13th century, from the village we now call Earlston in the Borders. Around him gathered a legend that survives in a medieval romance, and in the ballad, the scholar Francis Child. Come and stand with Thomas on the green slope of the Eildon hills. He is lying under a hawthorn tree, always the hawthorn, the fairy tree, the one you never cut. When he hears the bells, a lady comes riding, and she is so radiant that Thomas takes her for the Queen of Heaven herself and kneels. She corrects him, and there is a whole cold world of folklore inside her correction. She is not the Queen of Heaven. She is the Queen of Elfland, and she has come for him. He kisses her, and by that kiss, he is hers, and she takes him up on her milk-white horse, and they ride until they are past the edge of the living world entirely, wading through rivers where all the bloodshed on earth runs into the tide. And there she stops him and shows him 3 roads, and this is the heart of it. One road is narrow, thick with thorns and briars. That, she says, is the road to righteousness, and few enough ever ask after it. One is broad and lies across a lily lawn. That is the road to wickedness, though some call it the road to heaven. And the 3rd road winds up the fair hillside through the fern. And that, she says, is the road to fair Elfland, and that is the road the 2 of them will ride tonight. Notice where Elfland sits, not heaven, not hell. A 3rd road, between the 2, on no map a priest would recognize, the very shape of a thin place. Thomas rides it and stays 7 years, and when the Queen at last sends him home, she gives him a parting gift that is also a kind of sentence, a tongue that can never lie. He becomes true Thomas, the prophet, the man who cannot speak an untruth, which sounds like a blessing until you have tried to live an ordinary life, unable to tell a single ordinary lie. That is the Seelie court's generosity exactly, real and glittering, and never once free. Now let the bells fade, let the white horses go, because the other court does not announce itself with music. The Unseelie court is the sluagh, the host, the dark riding, and where the Seelie need a reason, the Unseelie need none. This is the crucial line the old people drew, and they drew it in fear. The blessed court might harm you if provoked. The unblessed court harms you as its nature, the way frost kills, not out of malice you could reason with, but because that is simply what it does when it comes upon you. No offering appeases them, because you did nothing to earn their attention in the first place. They come because they come. Picture their ride and set it against the one you just watched. No bells here. The host of the Unseelie comes on the wind itself, a low roaring dark in the northeast sky, a flock of the unforgiven dead, and the never-living wheeling like starlings gone wrong. In the Highland accounts, the sluagh snatch up travelers caught out after dark and carry them for miles through the freezing air, and, worst of all, force them to do the host's work, to loose an elf bolt at a neighbor's cattle, at a neighbor's child, so that the mortal's own hand deals the harm while the host laughs above the roofs. You wake in a ditch 3 valleys over with no memory of the journey and blood you cannot account for. There is no bowl of cream that stops the sluagh. There is only iron and prayer and the good sense to be indoors with the shutters barred on the wrong kind of night. But here is where my tidy picture broke, and I want to be honest with you about it. because it is the most interesting thing in the whole subject. The longer you sit with the two courts, the more the line between blessed and unblessed stops looking like a line between good and evil at all. Both courts steal children. Both take mortals under the hill and lose them there. Both must be guarded against every hour of every day. The Seelie will kill you for an insult. The Unseelie will kill you for nothing. But you are, either way, exactly as dead. What the two courts really are, some scholars came to think, is not two moral sides, but two temperaments, two weathers, the bright and the black, the summer disposition and the winter one, the smiling danger and the snarling one. And in some tellings, they are not even two separate nations, but two seasons of the same one. The same riders turned kind or cruel as the year turns, so that the court which blessed your fields in June is the very host that rides them down in the dark of the turning year. The thin place was never a border between heaven and hell. It was a border between us, small, warm, mortal, brief, and a power that felt no obligation to be either good or evil, and could be, on any given night, whichever it pleased. So how did people live beside that? They could not fight it. They could not flee a nation that lived in the next field, under the next hill, in the walls of the house itself. What they had, instead, was the thing I promised you at the start, a set of rules. A whole handed-down grammar of behavior, passed mother to daughter at the hearth, for the single purpose of getting through a life lived next door, to the courts without being ruined by them. And I want to give them to you now, one by one, the way they were given. Not as quaint superstition, but as the survival manual a frightened people actually used. These are the rules of the fair folk. The first rule is iron. Cold iron, the old word has it. Worked iron, forged by human hands. And to the fairy, it is poison and agony, and a closed door all at once. This is the deepest and most widespread of all the protections, and you find it everywhere the courts are feared. A nail in your pocket, and they cannot carry you off. The iron, they said, pins you to the honest earth, so the host cannot lift you into the air. A horseshoe over the door, ends pointing up, and no fairy will cross the threshold beneath it. Iron scissors, open in the shape of a cross, laid under the mattress of a woman who has just given birth, or a pair of iron tongs set across the cradle, because the newborn and the new mother, unbaptized and undefended, were believed the most stealable things in the whole house, the very treasures the courts most wanted. And cruelest of all the iron lore, find the print of a fairy foot in the earth, they said, and drive an iron nail down into it, and somewhere in the hidden country a fair one screams. Why iron of all things? The folklorists have an idea I find quietly moving. The fairies are, in many old beliefs, the people of an older age, the dwellers under the green mounds, and the green mounds were the burial hills of the Stone and Bronze Age dead, the folk who had no iron. Iron is the metal of the newcomers who displaced them. So iron is the thing that beat them once, the touch of the age that took their world. No wonder they cannot bear it. The second rule is the rule of names, and we have been living inside it since the first minute of tonight. Never say fairy. To name a thing truly is to have a kind of grip on it, and to name the courts baldly, out loud, is to reach out and tug the rope that runs from your mouth to their attention. So you use the soft names, the flattering ones, the good neighbors and the gentry, and you keep the true word behind your teeth. And the rule runs the other way too, and harder. Never give them your own name. A name freely given is a handle freely offered. in story after story, the mortal who tells the fair folk who they truly are is the mortal who is never quite free of them again. Give them a false name, a nickname, a riddle, silence. Give them anything but the true one. The courts run on knowing, and the whole art of surviving them is the art of not being fully known. The third rule may be the most famous and the most frightening in its simplicity. Never eat the food. Whatever the country under the hill offers you, and it will offer you the most beautiful feast you have ever seen, gold plate and music and wine the color of garnet. You do not take one bite. You do not accept one cup, because to eat the food of the otherworld is to belong to the otherworld, and the door that let you in will not, afterward, let you out. It is the oldest law of the underworld in the world, the same law that kept Persephone half the year in the dark for the sake of 6 pomegranate seeds, and the fairy courts hold to it exactly. And tangled up with the food is the other great danger of the hill. Time. Time runs wrong in there. You will dance, you will feast, you will think you have passed a single golden evening, and you will step back out into your own field to find the hawthorn grown huge and strange, the cottage fallen in, your own name a thing the oldest person in the village half remembers from a story their grandmother told. You were gone one night. You were gone 100 years. Under the hill, the two are the same length. The fourth rule is the strangest to a modern ear, and the one I think about most. Never say thank you. It sounds like the opposite of everything we are taught, but at the hearth, it made perfect and chilling sense. To thank the fair folk is to admit that they have done something for you, to acknowledge a debt, and the courts never, ever forget a debt, and they will choose the time and the price of its collection, and it will not be a time or a price of your choosing. So when the brownie threshes your corn, or the gentry mend your roof in the night, you do not thank them. You praise the work to the air perhaps. You leave out the cream as you always do. But you never speak the words that put you in their book. There is a hard, sane wisdom folded inside that rule. Be careful of the gift that wants to be thanked, because the thanks is the hook, and the gift was the bait. Which brings us to the fifth rule, the deepest one, the one all the others are really about, the rule of the bargain and the terrible price hidden in it. And for this one, we go back to a wood in the borders, to a green place called Carterhaugh, and to the finest fairy ballad Scotland ever made, the Ballad of Tam Lin. There is a girl in it, Janet, a laird's daughter, headstrong, and warned like every girl in every such story to stay away from Carterhaugh Wood, because a young man haunts it who takes a toll from every maiden who passes. She goes anyway. The going anyway is the whole engine of the story. And she meets him among the roses, and his name is Tam Lin, and he is not a fairy at all. He is a mortal man. Once, years ago, he fell from his horse on a cold hillside, and the Queen of the Fairies caught him as he fell and carried him away under the hill, and he has lived in her court ever since, half in love with it and half a prisoner of it. And Janet, who is carrying his child, asks him how she can win him back to the human world, and Tam Lin tells her the thing that is the black heart of the whole subject, the price beneath all the beauty. The fairy court, he says, is a fair land to live in, but every 7 years they pay a Teind, a tithe, to hell, a tribute, a tax of one living soul rendered down into the dark to keep the whole shining court safe and paid up and free. And he has been among them 7 years now, and he is flesh and blood and fair, and he is dreadfully afraid that this Halloween the tithe they choose to pay will be him. There it is, the thing the bells and the green silk and the feast under the hill were always hiding. The blessed court is not exempt from the dark. It is buying its way clear of the dark every 7th year with a soul. And tonight the soul on the table might be a man who was once as human as you. And so, Janet does the bravest thing in all of British folklore. And it is worth seeing exactly, because it is the shape of every rule I have given you tonight, drawn together into a single act. On Halloween, at the black hour, the fairy court rides out from under the hill, and she waits at Miles Cross in the dark. She lets the first company pass, and the second, and then she sees him. The rider on the white horse, the one with a glove on one hand and none on the other, the signs he told her to watch for. And she runs out and pulls Tam Lin down from his horse and wraps her 2 arms around him and does not let go. And the Queen of the Fairies, furious, fighting to keep her tithe, turns him in Janet's arms into a snake, and Janet holds on, into a bear, into a lion, into a bar of red-hot burning iron that sears her hands, and Janet holds on, and at the last he becomes a naked living man, and she throws her green mantle over him and covers him, and he is human, and he is free, and the court has lost him. She wins by knowing the rules. She holds through the terror. She does not let go. And notice, that one of the shapes she has to hold through is red-hot iron. Even in the story, at the very moment of freedom, it comes down to whether a mortal can bear to keep her grip on the burning metal that the courts themselves cannot touch. The whole survival manual in one girl's scorched and steady hands. I want to give you one last rule, though it is less a rule than a warning, and it is about the most dangerous thing a mortal can do to the courts, which is to see them clearly. There is a whole family of stories the folklorists call the fairy midwife tale. A human midwife is woken in the night and brought to a laboring mother and given an ointment to rub on the newborn's eyes and told, always, to be careful not to touch her own. And of course she does. A smear on one eyelid, and suddenly that one eye sees true. The grand hall she is standing in is a damp cave. The fine lady in the bed is a stolen human woman. The whole glamour falls away on that one side of her face, and she says nothing, and she does her work, and she is sent home. But weeks later she sees the fairy husband at the market, thieving quietly among the stalls, invisible to everyone but her, and unable to stop herself, she calls out. She greets him, she lets him know she can see, and he asks, very softly, which eye it is she sees him with, and he puts it out. That is the last rule, and the hardest. You may, if you are unlucky, be given the sight. You must never, ever let them know you have it. And a real man paid for exactly that. In the hills above Aberfoyle, there lived a minister named Robert Kirk, a true and documented person, born in 1644, a 7th son, which the country people thought gave a man the second sight by birth. Kirk was a scholar and a Gaelic-speaking clergyman, and he did the most reckless thing anyone in this entire history ever did. He wrote it all down. In 1691, he finished a small, extraordinary manuscript he called The Secret Commonwealth of Elves, Fauns, and Fairies. A sober, careful, almost scientific field report on the hidden nation, its ranks and its habits, and its subterranean country, set down by a man who plainly believed every word. He gave away their secrets, and the next year, 1692, Robert Kirk was found dead on the Fairy Knowe, Doon Hill, the very mound above his own parish where the folk were said to gather. And the country people did not say he had died. They said the fairies had taken him in his nightshirt, foretelling that his body on the hill was only a stock, a fairy counterfeit left in his place, and that the minister himself was down under the green mound, held in the commonwealth he had described too well, waiting. It is folklore, of course, but it is folklore that grew, within a year, around a real grave, and it tells you exactly how seriously these rules were still taken in the age of Newton by people who buried a real minister and could not quite believe the hill had let him rest. So what were they, in the end? These two courts, the blessed and the unblessed, the bright riders and the dark. I told you I came looking for a tidy war between good and evil fairies, and I want to tell you honestly what I think I found instead. I think the two courts are a way of holding a single, enormous, ungovernable fear and giving it a shape you could almost live with. There's a power out there, the old people knew. Call it the world itself, the wild country, the dark beyond the firelight. The plain fact that a child could be well at dusk and dead by dawn, and no one alive could say why. That power is not evil. It is not good. It is simply far larger than you, and it owes you nothing, and it can be gentle or terrible by turns, and give no reason for either. And the courts and the rules were how human beings drew a door frame around that immensity and taught their children how to stand in it, with courtesy and with iron and with a name kept secret, and with the good sense never to eat what the dark offers or to thank it for its gifts. The rules of the fair folk are not really about fairies at all. They are about how to keep your small, warm human life intact, right up against the edge of something vast and indifferent, which is, when you think of it, the oldest problem there is, and one we have not finished with yet. And now the fire has burned down to a low red eye, and the ridge and its riders are far away, on the other side of the dark, where they belong. The bells have long since gone up the valley and faded. Whatever was riding tonight has ridden past your door without turning its head, and the hour is safely on the other side of midnight now. The dangerous hinge of the evening swung shut and latched. There is nothing left out there in the fields but the ordinary dark and the frost coming down quiet on the grass. And somewhere, a green road winding up a hillside through the fern that you will never have to walk, because you are here on the mortal side, with the iron on the sill and the door drawn to. Thank you for keeping the watch with me, out past the edge of the map. Let the last of the firelight go, and good night.